Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of this podcast. And today I have John with me, who I was lucky to meet over LinkedIn. It's been about 8 or 9 months that I've been looking at what he writes and what he puts out there. One of the very few brutally honest, putting it out there kind of a guy, and you'll find him pretty much bringing in everything that he knows in all these years, and that shows when he writes and when he actually uh, you know tells and teaches all of us. So I really wanted him to come and join us so that we can learn more and more from him. So John, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome, and I'm really looking forward to this. So, John, let's just fire away. And to start and kick off, I would request you to kind of, tell everybody about your background, what do you do right now, etc. Let's send the e-commerce context first, please.
I've been in e-commerce for quite some time. A bunch of years ago, I was lucky enough to be director of marketing for a company called LifeX that was sold internationally during the smart home boom. So our biggest partners were Amazon, Apple, Google, etc., all the big guys. So I came from running marketing for those guys. We took them from sub 1 mil rev to over 30 mil and got them sold. Then I
Wow.
took a couple years off and went back into consulting for CMOs and CEOs on bringing products to market. And then came across a problem that had struck me as being something that should be solvable, which was how to better leverage data throughout the customer journey and stop guessing, really, more than anything else. Just stop guessing and work our way towards building a system and a process that would allow us to better understand who our customer is to sell more stuff. And so now I run Form Toro with my partner, where we build software that does live data collection during signups, which is the highest point of intent, in order to build out kind of like machine learning models in order to tell people what to do and how to build a better customer journey.
Super. Pretty exciting stuff. So since college or since the early days, did you really want to get into e-commerce, or how is the story?
I mean, in the earlier, I've always been around computers and ecom. I started college back in 2002 as
Okay.
computer science, so quite a
Uh-huh.
bit ago. And then I ran a little bit of ecom kind of through the years. I was interested in kind of what was going on with the internet, really. I mean, these are the
Mhm.
days of literally a notepad and having to FTP up your code and see what went wrong. Like, we're talking like totally different world than we live in today. Um, Back when we had Wi-Fi cards that we had to plug into laptops that only had like a half hour battery. So, when I graduated college, it was 2006, so we still didn't have an iPhone yet. So the whole world
Mhm.
was still, very analog in that sense. And we could text via, T9. Maybe keyboards were just starting to show up on Blackberries and stuff like that. So fast forward to that, I left, worked for a little bit, ended up in law school, did law school until 2011, came out of law school, and then started working at startups in San Francisco. And the thing that
Nice.
popped out for me more than anything else was that essentially logical reasoning just doesn't make its way into a lot of businesses.
Mhm.
And the idea of using kind of process based things with looking for what the root cause of things were was just missing. And I was thrown into a bunch of startup situations where I was a little bit older than people, I had a little bit more education than people, and I found myself in these situations where really there was no training for on the job. So there
Mhm.
was this whole path into this, and that just kept going and kept building. So then when I came back into marketing because I started marketing in like college, vintage like 2002 and 2004 is when I started really my marketing career back then. So nearly
Mhm.
20 years now. Um, Everything was fresh, everything was new. And then when I finished all this stuff, we kind of just like morphed into understanding that sales is really marketing, marketing is really customer support and how someone experiences a product. And at the end of the day, our
Yeah.
goal as people is to understand how someone gets from point A to point B. What about your products make you feel that way? And then to kind of body that up and make it as replicable as possible so that growth can happen. but it's my experience has been a cluster. I worked in healthcare, I worked in law, I worked in sales. I did all sorts of different things, but got to meet a ton of people but you find out that most people, they're so quick to just do stuff instead of like pausing for a second and wondering, why am I doing this and how does this affect an outcome or a goal?
Super, because I know, everything culminates together to bring you where you are. Your thought process and what you're building, etc., is all the summary of what you've done in the past 20 years that you, as you put. Um, but if I'm, let me be like the devil's advocate here, just to understand. 15 years back, also somebody would always talk about, hey, data is so important. We always look at data to make decisions, and everything what we do is data driven, etc. But the more I've got into this, I realize it's more and more a myth. Right? What's been your learnings in the journey?
Data is only as good as the people that can interpret the data.
Yeah.
And it comes from the collection methods of making that happen. It comes from the timing of making that happen. And most of the time, I hate to say it, I talk to so many people and like, oh yeah, we're data driven. And I was like, are you? Are you really? Like what data are you really using to drive any decision making whatsoever here?
Right.
And you have to understand that this whole data is everything thing came from the companies that were building products around data to sell and tell everyone that they needed data. There
Yeah.
was a conflict of interest that directly related to this whole data argument. Oh, you need more data. You should be tracking X, Y, and Z. We should
Yeah.
all be tracking X, Y, right? It was the people that were building the products that were telling people that we needed to do this. Like that's how the whole data argument came into play. Do I
Yeah.
think data is like a positive thing to get and understand? Sure. It's all context though. If I ask you what your favorite blue color is and you tell me turquoise, I'm going to say, "Oh, everyone likes the color blue."
Yeah.
Oh, but
Yeah.
the whole question said, "What's your favorite blue color?" Right?
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
got suckered, right? So the contextual way that we ask questions influences the answers that we get, which influences the data reliability and puts us usually in a position where data is always biased.
Yeah. Yeah. That's totally a very different subject about the data bias and stuff, and hopefully there will be some kind of regulation, there's some kind of something to go in and take care of it eventual period of time. But you bring forward a very, very important part there, and that's what I've realized. And I kind of also tell the customers that we talk to, or people that we kind of work with, is when people start talking about data, most of the platforms are so verticalized, right? They just just gathers data, the other one just interprets data, third one is just an API layer to this and that to whatever, right? And I always believe that data is so important, but as soon as it travels between the platforms, it's like Chinese whispers, right? The one that collecting data and the one who's finally sending an email might have a complete different objective of what initially was not in the plan. But do you agree with this, or sort some light on this?
Yeah, we dealt with this too in the beginning because originally we started as a data layer that would just push data into Klaviyo.
Okay.
And we thought, okay, well, every marketer is going to be able to interpret this data. And then we came to find out that literally every single platform out there just pushes data into Klaviyo.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's zero context as to what that data means across any of the platforms.
Yeah.
Um, we dealt with this in the early days. So for the first year, we were quiet. We were in stealth. We were just kind of trying to figure out, what would make the most amount of sense and figuring out where the market was. What we realize is 3 years later now, there's still zero context to any data that's provided into any system. That whole idea of your data has to tell a story doesn't really exist for most people. And we've been
Okay.
tricked into understanding what data means. Like, let's take quizzes for an example. Everyone seems to
Hmm.
have like a quiz on their website, and they're like, "Oh, if they click this, 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 and this, we should suggest these products." And then you always see three products on one page, and then you have to open them into new pages, and there's zero context as to why they selected those products. Now
Yeah.
you got to compare three different product pages to figure this out. That has to be one of the dumbest things that everyone has latched onto that I've ever seen in my entire life. It makes zero sense to have a
Yeah.
quiz that pops out three answers and then make people have to figure out how they're different or similar to each other. That is like a worse customer experience than just having a better navigation that says great for whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
the problem that we have is everyone's obsession with data and their lack of ability to do anything with it has permeated this entire space. And it's like,
Super.
oh, we
Yeah.
got to do this. We got to collect post purchase surveys so we can figure out where people heard from us. Why?
Yeah.
80% of people are never going to shop from you again, and the people that are filling out that answers, you have a correlation between people that are willing to fill out that answer with the answers that you're getting. Not You're not getting everyone. And I love the people that say, oh, it's a statistical significance that this many people or whatever. Who cares? At the end of the day, you're driving traffic from everywhere. You should be converting people at the same percentage. It
Yeah.
shouldn't matter where the traffic came from. If someone is telling you to spend more money on a specific platform, odds are you're running the wrong ads, and the ads
Okay.
are driving the wrong traffic. Because essentially, all traffic should be quality or of a high quality. And that
Hmm.
traffic that's driven to your website, if it's the right intent behind it, should be able to
Yeah.
convert at a steady rate. That's the way it
Hmm.
works. Conversion rate should be roughly the same no matter what,
Of
where they
channel.
came from. I mean,
Okay.
Google is going to be higher intent because people are directly searching for something, but
Fair.
is
Hmm.
there any reason that it shouldn't be higher than people that are likely to convert off Facebook?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. A lot of guys there would not agree, but that's what we have John here for, guys, right? So, okay.
But a lot of people also are trying to do last touch attribution and saying that's what's driving the sale.
Oh my God.
Come on,
Tell me.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
you're looking at, and I love the question. Where did you first hear about us? Doesn't matter. That will never matter as a question.
Mm-hmm.
What made you take your first action to come to our visit our website? There you
Yes.
go. That's what I
Yeah.
want to know. I
That's
want to
what.
know what made you click for the first time and bring you to the
Yeah.
website. I don't care
Yeah.
where you heard about us. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So the question, the filtering, and the insight generation from it, of course, makes all the difference. So everything connected to this and the whole buzzword now, John, and especially with the whole ad and attribution, etc., is now first party data. I don't know how many people even know the difference between zero party, first party, second party, third party, whatever. But I know there are some guys now who at least talk about first party data, especially when they're trying to look at acquisition ads and stuff. Yeah, how do you address it, and how do you think first party data is going to impact e-commerce as a segment?
So I'm gonna separate first party data from zero party data. First party data is what someone does on a website that can be tracked. Most browsers these days actually prevent you from tracking a lot of that JavaScript stuff anyway. So you're kind of at the whim of the browser at this point to determine what they're actually doing and what that means. I know a lot of people like looking at hotjars to figure out where people are hovering something or whatever else, or if they're jiggling a mouse, they say they found that funny. That's complete bullshit. Like it forever and a day, like it just really doesn't matter. You don't know, if you don't know the quality of the person that's viewing something, how are you going to make a judgment whether or not there's a bigger problem? I could have 10 people that all follow a specific pattern and none of them purchase,
Mm-hmm.
and I can have 10 people that follow a specific pattern and don't purchase in that session but come back and purchase.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
I'm going to
you
make all
can.
my judgments based on the people that went through to the card and say, oh, that was like a really good person. But we don't know what they bought. We don't know their frequency. We don't know why they bought. We don't know where they came from in terms of a source. There's so many different things that play into this. We don't know if that source they came from was their first place that they came from either.
Mm-hmm.
It's it baffles me. And I know a lot of the guys that are behind the attribution platforms and they swear on first party data, like add to carts and clicks and other events and everything else. If you look at Brave's browser's sugarcoat, it's a really interesting piece of technology they built into Brave probably about like 8 months ago, where it
Mm-hmm.
actually replaces all of your scripts with fake data.
Okay.
So
Wow, I didn't know about this. Okay.
most people don't, but like this is really the way that it works. If we concentrate on things that we can't control, or we try to influence things that we can't control, we miss like the bigger picture of things. You shouldn't be concentrated on building for. I love it. People say, "Oh, we should build for our best customers because they've already purchased."
Hmm.
And they have to have some of the similar things. And this is where lookalike audiences became like really important, right? Back in the
Yeah.
day. When Facebook had all those signals of where you were browsing on other websites, yes, 100% made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, today, without all those signals and that signal loss, it makes a little less sense because it wasn't the signals on an individual website that was causing Facebook to put people into a funnel.
It
It
was
was
the
their behavior across every website that was
everything. It was
causing
just
them to be put into a funnel. So the
yeah.
idea that like first party data is this new amazing thing, the only reason people are focusing on it is because first party cookies are always going to exist. That's the only reason why people are doing it. Third party cookies are going to be gone or already gone from a lot
Yeah.
of things. Fingerprinting across browsers is going to be the next thing that jumps out there. And a lot of people that are doing these attribution platforms are using a couple of the main players, usually fingerprint.js or Snowplow or any of these other ones. There's carve outs though. You can't use that stuff in the EU already
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
it's not base. You can't use it for marketing to attract people and stuff like that. So it's a matter of time before the US, the biggest market for like ecom right now, uh, maybe outside China, India too is perking up pretty quick. We are very no privacy here, like
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
in we, and that's just the way it goes. But honestly, I'd question if that's going to be like the future. And I also question like the validity of like, oh, first party data is totally the way to go. If you exchange that for zero party data, which includes addresses, orders, order values, anything submitted knowingly and consent wise from the customer,
Hmm.
it's a huge difference in terms of what you're getting out of people. When someone knowingly provides you data relevant to their customer journey, there's at least a trend or an analysis that you can do. The problem we have, though, is zero party data has been lumped into post purchase survey, which is post intent,
Hmm.
quizzes, which are pre intent, where we know people are just being dropped on a page with a bunch of
Yeah.
stuff, and then kind of like what we focus on, which is really just the sign up and exchange for an offer. We want a
Hmm.
value exchange that someone would only take advantage of if they were considering to make a purchase. That is the highest point of intent before making a purchase. And
Hmm.
the crazy thing is, most people don't track the time between sign up and conversion. And we started doing that, and we came to find out that 50% of the people really convert within like the first 12 minutes. So there's not a huge breath in there. So, like, if you
Yeah.
can be at the closest to that decision making point, you're going to walk away with the highest quality data to build all your
Yeah.
insights on.
Yeah, this I completely agree, and we found out pretty much the similar thing is the real time stuff that we work with is the best probability of converting a customer is when they are there online on your store rather than yes, abandoned carts do work, which is fine. Yeah, those messages are okay, but the percentage, proportion, etc., is very different. And rather than offering them a 20% later, even if you give them a 10% in real time, they would might better convert now in your session rather than getting distracted again by with some other brand.
If they're there and they got there, keep them
Yeah,
on the site.
yeah,
Just keep them on the
exactly,
site. And
exactly.
yet, when we see signups, this is the one that gets me. So the whole idea is to keep someone on a site, to keep people informed, to help them get from point A to point B, which is making a purchase.
Hmm.
And then you want to offer a discount. And then people love going after like phone numbers for whatever reason. I don't understand it because you have to either switch an app or you have to switch a device and you have to leave the website in order to collect your coupon code.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
does not make any sense. You are putting friction in the customer journey on purpose to grab a number that does not matter because they're either going to purchase or they're not going to purchase.
yeah.
Like it's baffling the stuff that I've seen in e-commerce that's become popular without that logical reasoning behind it. Without someone saying, "Hey, does this actually make sense for us to do? Like can we actually test these two things against each other?"
So, John, you're actually saying the world famous pop up as soon as I come on the website, which asks me to enter my email or phone number for a 10% off of something which is a Disneyland value. That doesn't work?
No, it's a common thing that everyone's used to, so it does work and you should definitely still be doing it. I wouldn't ask for a phone number though because a phone number makes you leave the website. If you were to only do a coupon code sent out via email, you're also making a mistake. Give them the code on the website. Straight up, give it as quickly as you possibly can.
Exactly. Exactly. Why would you want to create those two hops and five clicks and
In an ideal world, you're not even collecting an email address or a phone number. In an ideal world, someone comes to your website, they don't need to see a pop up. They can just go ahead and convert, which more than 50% of people do anyway. They just don't pay attention to that stuff. And they end up converting anyway. And then you get their email and their phone number with their order. And then they can choose to opt in if they want to marketing materials at that time of the order.
Yeah, because they will give you their email or phone number at the time of the order anyway. So you'll have that information to go and contact again rather than, being on the face and
It's
yeah.
like people that ask for first name or last name. Why? What are you gonna do with the first name and last name? Are you just wait. Give them the ease of being able to check out and then figure out all that information, figure out how many mailers you want to send them, how many trees you want to kill. Like,
Mm.
figure that out after the case.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because most of the platforms, like even Klaviyo or Privy, all the big ones as well, they offer pop ups now as the plain vanilla that it is. And then they got complex saying intent exit. If you go on there, then it goes away. It is really funny in one way that irrespective of the data that you have, irrespective of knowing all these things, that if a guy is really going there, hey man, he's not coming back. He doesn't want to buy. Do whatever you want. But uh, how do you suggest your clients to kind of work with this? Because you're so right that everybody's so used to it. It's like if I don't have it, I'm missing out.
So here's the thing. I think it's a mind shift, and the mind shift comes from, am I exchanging a piece of information that I can absolutely bombard with deals, etc., for a coupon code? Or am I exchanging the highest point of intent for learning more about where someone's at in the customer journey for that coupon code? To me, it's customer research on steroids. I mean, across it's funny because we run people's pop ups. Some people want SMS in there, some people don't care about it, etc. The ones that don't care about SMS have like a 90% plus completion rate of like 4 or 5 data points relevant to the customer journey. The ones that want SMS in there, it drops down to like 65%. So we can see in the actual
Yeah.
data how detrimental asking for this stuff is. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, but it makes us so much money. And it's like,
How?
you you you're watching less than 50% of people sign up. Your unsubscribe rate is crazy high every month as a result of this. You're forcing someone to leave your website in order to get a coupon code. What else can you do to prevent someone from purchasing after they're showing a high sign of intent to purchase? Now, I will say this. I think that pop-ups are the most misunderstood thing ever. And there's a couple people out there that are OGs in the space that say just get rid of pop-ups. And I just don't think that they have the capacity to understand how things have changed and how they can be used. And this is one of the things we've faced as kind of a company as we've been around for a while is tricking people out of the mentality where the number of emails you collect is a KPI that matters is baffling to me. It's not the amount of emails you collect, it's the amount of people that sign up that convert that matters. It's always about your conversion rate. It's not about, some vanity stat that says, oh, we got 10% of our people to sign up via our pop-up.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Congratulations. How many of those people converted? I
Yeah.
would take
Yeah.
5% of people that sign up on my pop-up if, 70% convert versus the other.
Yeah.
So the biggest misnomer in our space is that logical reasoning, again, it's going to come back to this just because I was going to write a post on this. Like, people do not understand the relationship of data points to each other. So we have a tendency of having teams that have been told to report on things that simply do not matter. And I get all these calls like, oh, our sign up rate looks really, really good. I was like, cool, don't care. What's your conversion rate? How's that doing? Like that's the only thing I care about, right? Like, but getting people to swap their mindset of realizing that they've been paying attention to statistics that don't matter because
Yeah.
platforms again have told you they should matter. How does
Yeah.
Klaviyo get paid? How does Privy get paid? How does Attentive get paid? They get
Yeah.
paid based on the number of people that are in your system. Do they care if they convert? No. Like, it's not calling out one thing or another, but the whole method of
Yeah.
being paid for something. If you're running pop-ups, people charge by the amount of visitors you get to your website. That's
Yeah.
silly. Like how did we decide that this was going to be the way we are going to bill everyone for this stuff? How do we decide that for every new 1,000 contacts that you put in Klaviyo, you're going to get an upcharge on this stuff, even if they've never opened an email, because 50% are never going to open an email.
Yeah.
This is what we live in. We live in this thing where everyone has become sheep and everyone just follows along with what all the big guys say because they're so big and they must be true. It's like in Shopify. Shopify is a great example. The shitty advice that Shopify gives in platform is these people haven't bought from you in a while. You should probably send them a discount code. That is literally a screenshot inside of Shopify that if you log in right now, anyone listening to this logs in, they're going to have a section for like recommendations. And they're going to say,
Mm.
these people haven't bought in a while. You should send them a discount code. That is the only thing that they have to drive sales. That's the default option. Send them a discount code, send them a discount code, send them a discount code.
Yeah.
We are so trained to doing the same things with zero questions about why we do them at this point that I think we've gone past that point of like smart people being involved in e-commerce. I honestly do. I'm not to say that everyone is dumb. I'm just saying that the idea that smart people are questioning the logic and the rationale behind some of the things that we're told to do, it's completely gone because we don't do it. It's the same reason why when you go on LinkedIn, you hear the same vague advice: build more creatives, focus on your landing page, double down on your offer. What if my offer can't be supported by my margins? Don't know what to do.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. Yeah, at least you're getting sales. Yeah. Yeah, but I hear you, and we're again trying to do something similar in the space, right? So I understand where you're coming from, but it's so hard to go and try and tell people something new, right? They're so conditioned by what they've been hearing and what the others are doing, etc. Like there are two segments of people I meet around pop-ups, right? One of them are like, they are spammy, they don't work, we don't have pop-ups on our side, which is fair. Again, it can be the brand, your value, whatever.
Yeah.
The second ones are the ones exactly having the email and phone number on the sign up landing page, and they would not change it of whatever reason. What's your experience here?
There's no real pain yet. You got to wait for the pain. So if you pay attention to trends long term, before someone makes a wholesale change of how they do stuff, they have to feel some pain. So we've had some clients that have come and left us because they were feeling some pretty hard pain. And then the reality was the data showed that there were bigger problems in the business that needed to be addressed. Everyone's looking for a golden bullet, right? Like silver bullet, golden bullet, whatever. I'm like cashback pop-ups became like a really big thing
Yeah,
like 6 months ago, and then everyone switched back to their normal attentive email and phone number because it turns
yeah,
out they're an accounting nightmare. And I don't know, some of the terms were buried in weird where it needed to be like 60 days before they give you your thing. Yet
yeah,
statistically, most people repeat purchase within 30. So you're really alienating people trying to get them to pay full price. It doesn't make any sense. The math never worked out. Um, Invariably, larger changes, the only thing you can do is future proof towards where industries are headed. No one
mhm,
cared about privacy. No one cared about attribution until iOS changes. No one cared about any of this stuff. When iOS 17 is fully released, I think in like September in a couple months, and they start putting all the SMS numbers into like spam buckets,
yeah,
everyone's going to be like, oh, what do we do now? Right? Like what we're seeing is people are so short sighted on hitting their target numbers for a
yeah,
specific month that they can't think long term into what decisions make a difference. Um, and it's crazy because we've been doing this for 3 years. Like we like work with a store really carefully and very precisely. And it's so funny because I talk to people and like, hey, those stats are ridiculous on that store, and I'm like, yeah, it's real. And then I show them the numbers, and they're like, I've always thought that was just a fake store for like illustration purposes. I was like, no, honestly, this is what you can do if you do everything correctly and you follow
yeah,
a set strategy. And so it's not like not a software company. It's like, oh, you should install our stuff. You're gonna do great stuff. It's like,
yeah.
no, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this,
Of
but
course,
if
absolutely.
you follow it, you will have success, but you have to look longer term.
Yeah,
It's the amount of people, but like back to the quiz example, right? drop people on a landing page with a product page. Product pages usually suck. There's no context between the different products that they're offering. There's no context between the collection of products that they're offering. They always have the section that says you might also like, but don't tell you why. If I had one takeaway to like slam every single ecom store right now, it would be there's zero context when I land on your product page. Into if I want to go somewhere else, there's zero context as to why I would go somewhere else or what else I should check out or why. Zero on all of them. And if I'm shopping in a store,
Mm.
there's going to be a section. And it's going to be the short section, and it's going to be the athletic short section, and then it's going to be, the going
Yeah,
out section. It's going to be
yeah,
it's going to be the t-shirt section, the long sleeve section, whatever else, and it's going to show the context and need something a little lighter, want something, with a different pattern on it, whatever it is, right? There's context when you walk around a store, but there's zero context online. And unfortunately, we're still in the same position that we were since 1998 when the internet
mm.
was like getting its feet wet, and we were getting on and seeing what a store would look like and items were sold. Like it's ridiculous that we have not evolved past this point, and it is a mistake that every single e-commerce store makes right now. Anyone listening, etc., any like websites that you're on, look at, etc., just go to a product page, and when you scroll down, they're going to tell you you might also like, but they're not going to tell you why. They're going to give you zero context as to why you might also like those things. They're going to let the visuals lead you into having to click on some other stuff and hoping to keep you on the site for long enough in order to get you to convert.
But bounce is the result.
Most of the time, like, look, people get frustrated. It's why like the conversion rate from Google is so much higher. But if you think about like a real life experience, the shirt I'm wearing is real life experience. I want a terry cloth polo shirt. So I searched terry cloth polo shirt, and I said no pocket because I'd seen when some pocket didn't want it. Go
Sure.
to Google, look through the images, click on the website, happen to be on sale. All right, you got me there. I'm into a good sale. Looks good enough. Company looks okay. Sure, let's add one to the cart. Oh, it's on super sale. It's an additional 50% off. Wow, okay, I was only going to get one, but now I can get three for the same price as one. I think I might just pick up a couple others and let's roll the dice on this because overall it doesn't really matter. I'll get free shipping on it.
Yeah,
So like that's the real experience, but
yeah,
there's no
yeah,
way for anyone to track that.
yeah,
And there's nothing on the website that said as soon as I added that to the cart, oh, I needed to add it to the cart. I need to go to checkout, and then I need to notice the complete discount on it. And then I went back, but when you're in checkout, you can't click on the item anymore. So you got to go back. So now
yeah.
I'm back on the website. Now I'm looking at what else is there, and then I'm adding stuff through, and then, I'm eventually checking out. But you know what? Here's the thing they'll never know too. Because I actually sent them an email because they sent me a coupon code to use after I checked out. And then I said, hey, can I apply this to the cart? Just shits and giggles. I knew it was going to be a no. And they said no. And I said, okay. But what they don't know is that I made that into a LinkedIn post. But at the same time, I also talked to like 5 other people within the next like week after getting these and said, you should really consider getting these. If 5 other people ordered, would it have been worth it to just give me the coupon code or hook me up with something else if I had reached out to someone and talked to someone in customer support? You never know. But this is part of the problem that we have. There's so many things that you can regiment. There's other things that you don't. Am I only going to be a customer when things are on sale? Most likely. That's the other thing about ecom. Like when everyone's on ecom, who really buys at full price on a regular
Yeah,
basis?
and I think it's very psychological rather than anything else, anyways. So yeah,
I know there are some people that buy at full price that just don't care because they need it now or they want
yeah,
it now or
fair.
they already know about what the product is. But for
Yeah,
the most part, like the whole point of shopping online is to look for a deal.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You go into
Absolutely.
a store if you need to buy something, but you shop
Yeah,
online if you're looking for a deal.
yeah. But that's a really good point that decision making and buying is a summary of so many factors, attributable and half of them non-attributable. But brands need to kind of also consider that as a customer you've still taken time to go and reach out to them. That's worth something for them, right? Somebody's taking the effort and pain to do it, and that should be kind of rewarded because people will go and look at that and talk about it out again, right? Which will be like an influencer in a positive way.
Your goal is product in hand, and this is what a lot of e-com stores. It's so funny to hear. I've been paying attention to this industry for long enough, and I've watched everyone change their tune on what matters, like repeatedly. There's people that were talking about, oh, click through rate and everything else mattered on your ads, and then they go, oh, your landing page ads and your offer ads, and then oh, it's experience with the product and it's the follow up and everything else. No one can agree on everything that matters because it's actually a
Yeah.
combination of everything. But at the end of the day, here's the trick: it's your perceived value of buying something.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's at the end of the day, if you purchase something, what is your perceived value of how much that was worth? Would you have paid more for it? Would you pay less for it? That's
Correct.
it. And
Yeah.
you can't make that judgment call until you actually receive, touch, and feel that product and use that product. That's the
Mm.
other thing people don't understand. It's one of the questions we always ask people. How often do you use this or participate in this activity where this would be used? That way we have a good idea of like, oh, is
Mm.
it a one-off purchase? I think of everyone that buys I'm to blame for this. I've done this on occasion. It's spring. I'll get like a sale on a snowboard coat or a winter coat, right?
Mm-hmm.
I might not use it for like another 6, 8 months, right? So my
Mm.
use and my value on that is really low until I get to use it. But
Okay.
brands will hit me up for everything else that they're selling during that period of time. It makes zero sense to me, but it's just how we do stuff, right? You buy something and like, oh, go for it. There's my one of my favorite companies for best product pages, 10,000 did this. I bought 2 pairs of shorts from them, and I was like, oh, okay, I like the shorts, great. And then they just started peppering me with buying more products. I didn't like the shorts enough that I want to buy more products. I like the shorts for a use case of using the shorts.
Yeah.
If you wanted to explain to me like the max range and some
Why should it matter?
exercises to
Yeah.
use, yeah, I would have been better
Yeah.
off. I would have been like, oh, have you had a chance to go for a run in your shorts? Could you
Yeah.
imagine that as a subject line? Hey, I haven't actually. Should I go do that? Probably. Now you're nudging me in the right direction to use the product.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's some people that are getting better about this, but it's a hard thing to do because not everyone buys things for the same reasons, right? Like I buy a swim trunk, there's two reasons why. I either lost my swim trunks or I need another pair or I'm going on a trip that requires them, right? Like that there's it's very limited.
Yeah. 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 Okay. This is far more better than I expected, John. Because a lot of things that you're saying is kind of like blowing my sockets inside. I'm like, oh my god, okay, like this way, and it's all in a good way because you're challenging those uh, things that everybody don't question and they just keep blindly following, right?
Which is fine.
And
If people want to
yeah,
keep blindly following them, business will go down, things are going to get harder, competition will increase.
yeah,
At the end of the day, I don't think people really realize how much more competition there is in the market than there was 10 years ago.
yeah,
And you have, I think, the one thing that people aren't talking about, the Temus and the Sheens and everything else, is they have access to way cheaper goods at way cheaper prices, and they got shipping down to a science. Like
yeah,
your competition just increased immensely for fast fashion and everything else
absolutely.
people are in, and everyone likes to like default back to, oh, brand does it. Brand doesn't do it. You're not a real brand to your household name, and as Allbirds has found out, that doesn't mean going public. It means that people actually have to know who you are, and it's really really expensive for people to know who
Hard,
you are.
very hard. Yeah, yeah. So earlier there was just like an Amazon, and now there's these new guys. So their competition is now the guys who have the maximum money to the guy who's just running like 5 SKUs in their designer store, right? That's just it's just massively out there. But uh, I would love to hear your take on this one because again, there are a lot of these big guys jumping in. There's a lot of deep tech coming in, etc. A lot of money, a lot of data, and a lot of AI, right, etc. And there are some really cool use cases that I have seen of AI in e-commerce as well. Uh, a lot of them are really nice. I think they will deliver what customers expect because for me, fundamentally, the customers are spoiled with choices and they have reducing attention span, right? So you need to kind of keep them engaged in whatever seconds. Um, what's your take? Do you think AI is here or it's not here yet? And do you think it will make an impact?
100%. I think that ads are going to be completely AI driven eventually. I don't think ads are as complicated as people make them out to be. I think there's a lot of frameworks that people push on the ad space, and I just don't find it to be true at all. Um, there was a change in the. So you have to understand trends to understand why we got to the place that we got to. In the early days of advertising platforms, we'd have a couple ads and they'd do well enough, and then everyone would be happy. And the ads weren't actually delivering the sales, it was the algorithms behind the targeting of the ads that were delivering the sales. And
Hmm.
then when that swapped, everyone started saying, oh, you have to do more creative. Now, the reason why people said you have to do more creative is because all the agencies that said you have to do more creative all of a sudden had to jump in and make additional revenue somehow.
Yeah.
So their additional revenue was caused by making more creative. So it's really weirdly linked. If you get like an agency like, oh, we need to make a ton of creative and try a bunch of different hooks and optimize for whatever, none of that matters. If you spent half of that time on your website and your product pages to fill in the numerous gaps that exist, things like not having a warranty, a shipping time, a return policy, even materials and how you should wash stuff and all this other stuff that people just leave off of product pages, you'd start seeing that like it's really just not good. And it's not good on the ad side. It's the ads, and your return on ad spend is a result of what your experience is on the website. And yet
Absolutely.
we're happy to spend thousands of dollars on an agency to drive ads and create ads, but we do not spend the same amount on people to optimize product pages, landing pages, everything else on the way through,
Yeah.
or let alone your customer support or anything else that you have, right? So we view Facebook has done a great job, spectacular job. They've convinced us that uh, the more you spend on ads, the better off you're gonna be, and they do it in such a very like it's a cute way. They auto charge your card at like 900 or 1,000 or 10,000, whatever your limit is to charge your card, and they just do it automatically. And as long as
Yeah.
they show you some degree of results, like it's a money printing machine. You don't know who the ads are being shown to. You don't know the quality of the audience. There's nothing for you to say. And then I love it. People are like, oh, it's a quality audience. Why? Oh, because they purchased. Really? Or they added to cart. Does everyone add stuff to cart and purchase? Does everyone add stuff to cart with the intention of purchasing? No. Okay, well, how is it a quality audience then? Like, what about them makes them a quality audience? Do you know where they are at in their journey? And the answer is always going to be no, because the only person that
Good
knows that
point.
is Facebook.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
look, they're incentivized to make you money, but just enough money so that you keep spending money with them. They're not incentivized on the other way, right?
Yeah.
Like
So
they're
they don't care about the conversion. They don't care about the
that's the
revenue. It's
point.
yeah.
When they released their shops thing, it was the funniest thing in the world because they were going to take 5% off every sale. And then I was like, oh, what's the cost per click versus the cost on Facebook to complete the sale? Where are they going to really direct the traffic? And they're using AI algorithms to decide what's better for their bottom line because that's how their stock price goes up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When you start seeing these patterns, you start realizing that it's pretty much a rigged game. It doesn't really matter. Like, so will AI take over for that stuff? 100%. Do you want to trust it? Maybe. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But people are going to be put out of business for sure. 100%. There's like the idea of being a media buyer today. Stupid. Like you don't need media buyers.
You
The
don't
the
need.
the platforms are going to take care of that for the most part. Um, should we invest more in soft skills that AI is not going to be able to do? Yeah, sort of. I'm willing to bet that I could send a URL into Bard or Chat GPT and then give it a list to checklist through and see
Hmm.
how what match I have on it, and then it can suggest suggestions on it. Honestly, I think that's going to come out in probably the next 6 months. Someone's going to put together. We've been messing
Yeah.
around with GPT for a year and a half now.
Yeah. 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 Same as
Like,
us. Yeah. Yeah.
like So, but are people going to be able to action on it and do something with it? Is it going to work out all the time? Maybe, maybe not. I do think there are going to be changes, though. The problem that I have with where we're headed, though, that I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to, is it's a first mover advantage in a very real way.
Mm-hmm.
The stores and everyone that decides to go this direction first are going to decimate everyone else and grab market share. But here's the problem: who's got more AI? Facebook, Amazon, Google, Shein, Temu, or your store on Shopify? You're going to get decimated. I think long term we end up with a couple marketplaces that are competing for your attention, and that's about it. And there's been a couple posts about this, and I really do think for most people, Amazon's probably their best bet on distributing product. You
Mm-hmm.
can run a D2C brand and probably gets like 5-8 million directs. Like if you know what you're doing profitably, it's tough, but I think you could do it. I think without mass distribution, like an Amazon, in order to offload to a larger audience, like you're just going to end up paying more and more money on ads in order to figure it out. And figuring it out is about to get really, really hard because with all these new entrants into the market, your costs are going to go up. And you
Mm-hmm.
can't control shipping costs the same way that Amazon can.
Yeah.
They have
No,
a scale that you're never going to be able to compete with.
that's true.
And, you
That's
know,
true.
the glory days of D2C were circa 2012, 2011, 2012, where everything was cheap and ads were cheap and you could acquire customers cheap. And that is just not the case anymore.
Mm. Well, that's why conversion is important. That's why, trying to deliver them the experience is important. Like you said, PDPs and the flows, etc. Don't annoy, don't make them have a number of clicks. Just deliver them what they want. The ones who want to buy will buy. The ones who don't, you do what the heck for them, they will not at the end of it. So, yeah,
Really, our goal is to reduce friction and make it easier for people to make decisions.
exactly.
And we did this the other day on our website. We Shopify quietly put out automatic discounts like in order to do bundles instead, so it's single
Yeah,
SKU. And we looked at this and we now have automatic tiered quantity discounts across our entire store. Because as a customer, if I want to buy something in our store, I would want to save money if I bought more than one of an item. And I said, well, that makes sense. If I'm shopping online and there isn't a discount for me to take, how can I get a discount? If I shop
yeah,
more and I buy more, does it work out for my cart value? Does it work out for me? Do
yeah,
I feel better about myself? And it's
yeah,
crazy. You go into that cart and you change the quantity and the price changes automatically and you're saving more money and you're like, oh, I'm going to do this, right? We're just gamifying an existing experience that makes sense. But I'm surprised that more stores don't do this because there should be tiered discounting across everything. You should just
yeah.
build in the margin.
Hmm.
That way you give people the impression that they're getting a deal on everything, even
Yeah,
if it doesn't affect your margin and you're perfectly fine. Now, the crazy part about us making that change was we actually were able to get rid of our bundles where people were double dipping using a coupon code. So we essentially just made ourselves 15% more margin on all purchases. But that is the kind of stuff that most people
yeah.
don't understand
Need to be
because,
smart.
you, yeah, there's a logical reasoning of understanding
Yeah,
all the levers and how they pull together. And we do not teach people how to do that, how to address that, and how to look
yeah.
for margin ways that way. And it sucks because there's some guy in the back room right now that's like, I'll just send out another email with a coupon code in it. But that's the way
That's
that we approach ecom right now. And it's and I pick on agencies a lot. I really, really do. Because it's usually the person that starts the agency that sells them on the promise, the goal, and the dream, and then passes it off to account exec that's been doing this shit for less than 5 years, that's never had hand-on experience with the brand for the most part, only worked agency side. And then they're thrown in to come up with a strategy for this brand, yet they don't even
yeah,
know the unit economics of the brand or the goals of the brand or the limitations of that brand. And then boom, everyone has a bad experience. And that's just the way this works. So I do think AI is going to replace agencies, 100%. I don't
really.
think, yeah, I do. I am. If I could short agencies, I would short agency for right now. I think AI is going to take over. I think they're hoping to be harbingers of that technology and provide expertise. And
Mm-hmm.
I see this with certain ones where they're releasing SaaS platforms to do mass analytics, and the analytics don't matter, and KPIs are all made up, and who cares, right? Like everyone is searching for a software thing to plug in to have stickiness, but honestly, I don't think you need an agency. I think you just need a little bit of smart software and real good fundamentals on the way through, and you should be perfectly fine. And I
Mm-hmm.
know everyone likes to say, especially agency side, set it and forget it. You don't ever want to do that. You always want to be optimized. You always want to be optimized. Look, the best e-commerce stores in the world that I've ever seen, like at top conversion rates, like Black Friday conversion rates, I think the highest I've ever seen is 13-14% conversion rate
Mm-hmm.
during a period, right?
Yeah,
I think most e-commerce sites right now are like 1.5 to maybe three and
yeah.
a half, and that
Fair.
includes repeat purchases.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
talking like first purchase only, like first purchase only purchase most 1.52, like yay, that's kind of where they're at if it's just first time purchasers.
Mm-hmm.
On like our test site, we flirted with 8.5% first time conversion rate
Wow.
by not doing things the same way that everyone else has been doing things. I think honestly a good customer journey can get close to 10 on a non-sale, just bundle discount, one coupon code available to you via sign up. That's it. I think double digits is possible. And I know it's been a stretch goal of mine to get there. And I got to wait for some stock to come back to see if it's going to get there. But I think it's entirely possible. Now, the question then becomes, if you can hit double digit conversion rate from first time customers without running sales and promotional periods and basing everything on smart data and not worrying about the source of the traffic, but just building for the customer that's most likely to purchase your product, that basically throws the last 20 years of us thinking about how to do e-commerce out the window. But this is the thing, like you asked the question earlier and you said, how do we get people to change their minds? People
Yeah.
will not change their minds until they see it being done.
Yes. True.
And for the last 3 years, we've been actually doing it. Like we don't share all the details of how we're doing it,
Sure.
but we've
Yeah.
been actually doing it to the point
And
where
then
now,
proving it as well. So yeah, yeah. That's super exciting, John. I think again, a lot of those I would say fundamentals were kind of shaken in the conversation today, and which is all for good because we need to continue learning, upscaling ourselves. And I'm also very glad that there are a lot of takes that you spoke of about the agency, about the discounts, and also about the AI. So because now I already hound you, and I'm going to bother you again in the few months to let's see how all these things progress. But before we do that, thank you so much, John. It's been a pleasure because it was massive learning for me and a lot of things that we do overall in our business. And I hope anyone and everybody watching would have got to learn new things from you. So really appreciate your time.
thanks for having me. I always
No,
appreciate talking to you.
no, indeed. And guys, John runs an amazing company. So reach out to him. He's really good. Go follow him on LinkedIn because once you go and do that, you'll realize what I'm saying, right? Forget about this. And he's very approachable. So super helpful and very knowledgeable. So do that. And looking forward to hosting you again in the coming months, John.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.